You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Sports fans, welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start with the two Eastern Conference teams that were up 3-1, taking care of business and clinching their ticket to the second round. I'll start with Wizards Sixers and the great, and I mean great, coaching adjustment that Doc Rivers made. I told you that the Sixers were going to pivot. They were going to change up their game plan because of the Embiid injury. I just didn't know how they were going to do it. Admittedly, I didn't see this coming, but it makes sense. The starting five for the Sixers yesterday was Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Ben Simmons. So just to contrast that with the Game 4 starting lineup, Simmons moved from starting point guard to starting center. Seth Curry moved from starting shooting guard to starting point guard, and Matisse Thybulle entered the starting lineup for the first time in these playoffs. Get yourself a guy who can start at both point guard and center. I know that Simmons is 6'11". Okay, he can start at center with that height. But this guy was the starting point guard, and now he's the starting center. Shades of Magic Johnson in the 1980 NBA Finals. I told you that Simmons would need to step up, and he did. He had a triple-double. 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists. He looked like Nikola Jokic out there. I also said that Tobias Harris would need to step up. He had 28 points. The guy who really stepped up, though, was Seth Curry. He had 30 points. He was the high man. Not Harris, not Simmons, not Danny Green. Seth Curry. Again, the geometry of the court. Everyone's focusing on Simmons driving so he could just kick it out to Curry for a wide open three. And he's going to hit it. The Sixers bench really stepped up. Even though Matisse Thybulle started, he only played 16 minutes. He got into foul trouble kind of early. So Tyrese Maxey ended up playing 26 minutes. He played well. Dwight Howard came in for 15 minutes. He gave the Sixers more of a traditional center. He hit 8 of his 10 free throws yesterday. That was really impressive. I remember when, if Dwight Howard was shooting 10 free throws, he'd be lucky to hit 5 of them. He hit 8. That was impressive. Furkan Korkmaz was a good bench shooter. The Sixers just showed why they're the better team. I mean, I give Bradley Beal credit for trying to step up. He had 32 points. I give Rui Hachimura a lot of credit. He had 21 points. Russell Westbrook nearly had a triple-double, 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. He shot 7 for 20 from the field, though. I mean, in an elimination game, that's inexcusable. This is just more proof that Russell Westbrook can't win in the playoffs without a transcendent talent like Kevin Durant helping him out. I mean, you gotta realize something. In this series, Russell Westbrook did average a triple-double. I mean, that's impressive. It's only the second time that he's done that in a playoff series. He did it in the first round of the 2017 playoffs when the Thunder got destroyed by the Rockets in 5 games. That was the Thunder's first year without Durant. History repeated itself. Westbrook averaged a triple-double, but the Wizards never came close to winning. Westbrook shot just 33.3% from the field, 25% from beyond the arc. I understand that Westbrook isn't a good three-point shooter anyway, but you've got to do better than 25%. Again, Russell Westbrook has proven that he's an incredibly dominant player, future Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards in NBA history, but you can't win with him. You'll never win with him. Russell Westbrook is doomed to lose. Just like Chris Paul and John Stockton. Great point guards. Hall of Famers. Can't win the big one. Moving on now to Hawks-Knicks. A game that I am so glad to have gotten wrong. I thought the Knicks would win this game. I thought they'd force a game 6. You know what? I was wrong, and I'm glad to be wrong. The reality is, the Knicks, all throughout this series, and you saw it yesterday, were the inferior team. You know what this proves in all seriousness? There used to be a time where you could build a team around defense and win an NBA title. It's what the 04 Pistons did. You can't do that anymore. I mean, the Knicks' defense wasn't awful in this series by any stretch. The most points they gave up in a game was 113 points. That's not bad. The thing is, though, when you're built so heavily around defense, you need someone who can take advantage of it. It's great that you're stopping the other team from scoring, but that's not enough. You've still got to put points up. Jacob deGrom can pitch 9 innings of 1-run baseball, but if the Mets are held off the scoreboard, he's getting a loss. The Islanders can have a scoreless tie tonight. Headed into overtime. Their defense is playing great. The goalie's standing on his head. You still need some overtime magic. In football, your defense can be great. You don't give up a single touchdown. You're forcing field goals. You're forcing 3-and-outs. That's great. That's fantastic. You still need an offense that can take advantage of that. It's the same thing here. The Hawks averaged just 104 points per game in this series. That's about 10 points less than their regular season average. And that actually fits in perfectly with what the Knicks have done all year. The Knicks played to their identity. They were a good defensive team in this series overall. Did Trae Young go off? The answer is yes. But if you look at the scoreboard in the bottom right corner, the Hawks weren't putting up a ton of points. The Knicks defense did its job. It's up to the offense to capitalize on it. It's up to their two best players, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. And you know what? Those guys folded like cheap suits. You want to tell me that they were overwhelmed by the bright lights? I don't think that's a legitimate excuse. For starters, you take a look at what's happening in the West. The Phoenix Suns are one win away from eliminating the LA Lakers. The Phoenix Suns haven't made the playoffs since 2010. The LA Lakers are the defending NBA champions. That argument just doesn't hold a lot of water to me. That's number one. Number two, the Knicks were favored in this series. They were the 4 seed. They had home court advantage. They had thousands upon thousands of screaming Knicks fans supporting them. They were favored to win this series. They just were. I didn't know anyone who picked the Hawks to win this series. I certainly didn't. I picked the Knicks in 5 games. Don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled to be wrong. I hate the Knicks with a burning passion. But a lot of other people were wrong too. I don't think anyone outside of Atlanta picked the Hawks to win this series. You've got Julius Randle playing his 5 worst games of the season. The guy shot under 30% from the field. He was an all-star. It's great that he was putting up double-doubles. Doesn't really mean much at the end of the day if you're shooting under 30% from the field. RJ Barrett shot under 30% from beyond the arc. He only put up 14.5 points per game in this series. Derrick Rose didn't play well yesterday. This was a tough loss for the Knicks. And just think about the poetry of this game. You've got Marv Albert calling the game. His last game ever at MSG. You've got Reggie Miller as the color commentator. We all know the history between Miller and the Knicks. You have Spike Lee sitting courtside. We all know the history between Reggie Miller and Spike Lee. You have Trae Young, who seems to be taking over Reggie Miller's title of Ultimate Thorn in the Knicks' side. I mean, let me tell you, Young loves this villain role. I don't know where this came from with Trae Young. He's not this type of player usually. Maybe he just wanted to give himself some extra motivation? But he has embraced this villain role. Telling the crowd to shush, pantomiming the spit. He hit a 3 late in the game and he took a bow. He was asked about it afterwards. He said, in essence, we're in New York. After shows in New York, the performers take a bow. I put on a show. I wanted to take a bow. Oh my God. Trae Young is going to get booed for life at the Garden. And I can hear it now when Trae Young becomes an unrestricted free agent. Oh, he loves playing at the Garden. He loves the fire that it brings out of him, the vim, the vigor. He goes to another level. He's going to go to the Knicks, blah, blah, blah. I can hear it now. It's the same argument that people made for Reggie Miller, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, etc., etc. The thing that Trae Young did in this game, and he did it very well, was get to the free throw line. He did not shoot the ball efficiently. Just 10 for 28 from the field. He shot just 3 for 11 from beyond the arc, but he ended up with 36 points. You know how he did that? By attempting 15 free throws and hitting 13 of them. I've been screaming for Trae Young to do that for a while. If you know that you don't have it, that's fine, but you've got to find a way to help your team out. One way you can do that is by penetrating, drawing contact, and getting to the free throw line. Trae Young is an excellent free throw shooter. He does need to work on getting to the free throw line. He's not awful at it. But I would like James Harden to talk to him after the season. Definitely after the season, because if the Nets go up against the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't want Harden giving Young any tips. And in answer to your next question, no, I don't think the Hawks are going to beat the Sixers. The Sixers fans were chanting, "We want Brooklyn." I mean, I didn't like that. Not because I'm a Nets fan, but you can't overlook your second-round opponent. Did anyone expect the Hawks to beat the Knicks? No. But they beat the Knicks. If Joel Embiid misses some more games, is it impossible for the Hawks to pull off another upset? The answer is no. It's unlikely. It's okay if you're going to pick the Sixers. But don't overlook the Hawks. The way Trae Young is playing right now, anything's possible. You know, I'll say this from the Knicks end of things. Yeah, this is a tough playoff exit. You should have won. You should have gone to the second round. You end up being humiliated in 5 games. You suffer 3 straight double-digit losses. That's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. I get that. But you're on the right track. One thing that the Knicks do is they try to hit the fast-forward button a lot. Marcus Camby for Antonio McDyess. Gutting the roster for Carmelo Anthony when he could have waited 4 months and just signed him without having to give up anything. Trading for Andrea Bargnani. The Knicks have holes. There's no question. But be careful how you fill them. Don't go crazy and mortgage the future. If you can convince a guy like Kawhi Leonard or Kyle Lowry or someone like that to sign with you, great. Do that. That makes a ton of sense. But if a star becomes available, I'd be hesitant about mortgaging the future for him. We've seen that movie. It doesn't end well for the Knicks. Fortunately, though, for Knicks fans, they've got a really good hierarchy in place. Leon Rose seems to be on his way to becoming a really, really good executive if he's not there already. Tom Thibodeau is the perfect coach for this team. Julius Randle is still a really, really, really good player, even though he no-showed in these playoffs. He's still very talented. The guy was an all-star last year. RJ Barrett is a really good player. Emmanuel Quickley is going to turn into something special. Mitchell Robinson's going to come back. You have holes, yes, but you also have some building blocks. The Knicks are pointed in the right direction. There's no way around it. Moving on now to Grizzlies Jazz, and it's kind of funny. I had some people say to me, Jacob, you should have given us a little more on Grizzlies Jazz. Give the Grizzlies a shot. They've been playing the Jazz tough all throughout this series. You can't just brush them off like they're a YMCA team. Yes, I can. Yes, I did. And yes, I was right. Make no mistake about it, that game was over in the first quarter. You can't fall down by 20 at the end of one and give up 47 points and still think you're going to win. You could have pulled Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jonas Valanciunas right then and there. There was no way on this earth that you were going to come back. Oh, hallelujah. You outscored the Jazz 34-20 in the fourth quarter. You were down by 30 at the end of 3. At one point in time in this game, you were down by 35. You never led. You played terrible basketball. You allowed the Jazz offense to go off. Donovan Mitchell had a double-double, 30 points and 10 assists. Rudy Gobert was a monster, 23 points and 15 rebounds. Royce O'Neal and Bojan Bogdanovic both had 17 points. Off the bench, Jordan Clarkson had 24 points. It was kind of funny. Mike Conley left this game early with a hamstring injury. He only played 11 minutes. So the first thought that goes through your head is, okay, that stinks. Who's their backup? Oh yeah, that's right. It's the 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson. They didn't miss a beat in putting Clarkson in instead of Conley. I mean, I saw some people say that this is going to be the same thing as the Donovan Mitchell injury. The Grizzlies are going to take advantage of this and force a Game 6. Mike Conley may be the 4th most important member of the Jazz. Maybe, if I'm being very generous. Donovan Mitchell is the most important member of the Jazz. He is by far and away their best player. I mean, I don't want to say that it's lazy to say that the Conley injury could have been just as devastating as the Mitchell injury, but how much of the Jazz have you really watched? I mean, come on. In fact, you know what, I'll say it. Jordan Clarkson is better than Mike Conley. So talk about addition by subtraction. The Grizzlies never had a shot in this series. They were able to take the first game because Donovan Mitchell was out. Then the Jazz woke up and said, yeah, we need our best player. After that, the Grizzlies played them tough, but there was never a doubt in my mind that the Jazz were going to win this series. I saw some people saying that the Jazz blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets last year in the bubble, so they're liable to do it again. That's really not how it works. It's a different team. It's a better team. It's a more experienced team. I mean, make no mistake about it. The way the Western Conference is shaken out right now, the Jazz have a great shot of being in the NBA Finals. Maybe then we'll put some respect on their name. And part of the reason I'm saying that is because the Clippers are now just one loss away from elimination. You remember when I said it was all on Luka? This game would ride or die on Luka's shoulders? Or more accurately, his neck? Yeah, I was right. Hey, the massages worked. The ice packs worked. That game that he had yesterday may be one of the greatest games Luka's ever had. And may be one of the best individual efforts in these playoffs. An all-important Game 5. It seems like odd-numbered games in series are more important than even-numbered games in series. I mean, think about it. Game 1, you want to get off to a good start. Game 3, if you're up in the series, you can put a stranglehold on it by going up 3-0. If you're tied, you've won the first game in a best 3 out of 5. If you're down in the series, you've avoided going down 3-0. The same logic sort of holds for Game 5. If you're up in the series, you'll win it right there. If you're tied, you've won the first game in a best 2 out of 3. And if you're down in that series, you'll live to fight another day. Then obviously a Game 7 is a Game 7. I'm not saying you throw away Games 2, 4, and 6, but it just seems like odd-numbered games are more important than even-numbered games. Generally speaking. I mean, there's an old saying, you're never in trouble in a playoff series until you lose at home. That's true too. Especially in a 2-2, 1-1-1 setup. If you lose one of those first 2 games at home, you've actually lost home advantage. Like, let's take the Islanders series for an example, because Game 3 is going to take place tonight. At this very moment, the New York Islanders have home ice advantage. Now, granted, they lose it 24 hours from now, but at this very moment, the Islanders do have home ice advantage. So the Bruins lost the game at home. It's down to a best 3 out of 5. And the Islanders have home ice advantage. It's not going to be easy for the Bruins, I'll say that. But back to Mavs Clippers. An absolutely Herculean effort by Luka. 17 for 37 from the field. 6 for 12 from beyond the arc. 42 points and 14 assists. The Clippers couldn't stop him to save their lives. I mean, how's this for a stat? The Mavericks made 37 field goals in this win. You know how many of those Doncic scored or assisted on? 31. That is absolutely absurd. But you know what? You can make the argument that Luka Doncic wasn't even the seminal reason that the Mavericks won. You can make the argument that the seminal reason was Rick Carlisle. His adjustment in this game to go big was incredibly smart. He started Bobby for the first time in this series. He moved Porzingis to the 4. That means that there were 2 7-footers on the floor for sizable chunks of this game. And bear in mind, Luke is 6'7". That's big for a point guard. Tim Hardaway's also a little taller than the average shooting guard. In an era of small ball, Rick Carlisle went big ball. Usually that doesn't work, but the Clippers have been killing the Mavericks in the interior for this whole series. So Carlisle said, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to hit your shots. Can that backfire? Absolutely. The Clippers led the NBA in three-point percentage this year and were 5th in the NBA in field goal percentage. So telling a team like that they're going to need to shoot to win, message received. That's the equivalent of telling a Nets lineup that has Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, and Jeff Green in it, that they're going to need to hit their threes in order to beat us. We're not going to let you drive to the hoop, but we'll let you shoot threes. Their eyes are going to light up. It's going to be like something out of a cartoon. They'll say, thank you, and they'll just start shooting. Is there a guarantee that those shots are going to go in? No. I mean, it is a debate. Would you rather have the help defender leave his man who's beyond the arc to stop the driver, or would you rather he stay with his man and concede the 2 points? I mean, realize, if the help defender leaves his man, yes, that guy's getting a wide open opportunity from beyond the arc, but he still needs to hit it. If you've got a wide open layup, or you can dunk it, 99 times out of 100, you're making it. If you have a wide open 3, you're not hitting that shot 99 times out of 100. The best 3-point shooters hit like 40% of their threes. I mean, if all their threes were wide open, that number may go up to like 50%, maybe a little higher than that, but not 99. Of course, 3s are greater than 2s, and that 1 point can make all the difference. There's danger in daring a team to shoot, especially a team as good as the Clippers. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. Yesterday, it worked, and it's going to be very interesting to see if the Mavericks go to it again. Now that the Clippers know what to expect, do you want to go that route again? Game 6 of this series is going to be really fun. But before we get to that, we've got a couple other Game 6s to get to. I'll start with Nuggets Trailblazers. If the Nuggets are going to win, I'd like Aaron Gordon to step up a little bit more. I mean, on paper, Gordon's the 3rd best Nugget. That game a couple days ago, he was the 5th best Nugget. He only had 14 points in 38 minutes. Now, he was efficient, don't get me wrong, but I do want him to take more shots. He can't have just one more shot than Austin Rivers. And also, foul Damian Lillard rather than let him attempt a game-tying 3 with the shot clock turned off. As for the Blazers, Dame needs help. Okay, someone else needs to step up. I don't care who it is. CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, Norman Powell, Rocco, Melo. I don't care. While Damian Lillard had 55 points in what is so far the best game of these playoffs, I'm not talking about the game as a whole. I'm talking a game that any individual player has had. Although Blazers-Nuggets was the best game of these playoffs so far from an overall perspective. You know, it's great that Lillard did that, but he can't do it all by himself. He needs help. Someone needs to step up. If they don't, the Blazers are going home. But I do think someone will step up. I don't know who, but I think the Blazers will win this game. They'll force a Game 7. I did pick the Blazers in this series, so I kind of have to pick the Blazers. Moving on now to Suns-Lakers. And it's all on Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis plays, the Lakers will win. It's at the Staples Center. The entire team is going to be ticked off. I don't see the Lakers losing this series at home. If Davis doesn't play, it's going to be another rout. The Lakers have shown that without Anthony Davis, they're not a good team. Okay, it's just that simple. There's a reason that they had to play a play-in game to get into the playoffs. As great as LeBron is, and he is great, he's like Lillard. He can go off and do crazy things, but without someone from his supporting cast stepping up, it's not going to matter. I mean, it's tough for me to make a pick in this game. Anthony Davis is a game-time decision for this game, according to Jovan Bua of The Athletic. If I butchered your name, I'm sorry. Look, I can't make a formal pick. I'm sorry. It all depends on AD. If Davis plays, the Lakers will win. If he doesn't, the Lakers will lose. It's just that simple, and at this very moment, we have no idea whether Davis is going to play or not. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And I'll start with Canadiens-Jets. A game that the Canadiens took advantage of very quickly and really didn't let up. They were up 3-1 after 1. That score held into the third period. I thought the Habs did an excellent job of playing defensive hockey. Carey Price faced just 30 shots. That's not awful. It's not great, but it's not awful, and most of those shots were bad opportunities. The Canadiens really played this game the right way. Yes, they got out hit, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter much if you're utterly dominating the game. Of course, what everyone's talking about with this game is what happened to ice it. The Canadiens chipped the puck out of their own zone. Jake Evans had a backhand wraparound opportunity. He scored on it. Mark Scheifele did his damnedest to stop him, though. He barreled into Evans like a bat out of hell. I mean, Evans had his head down, and he just went flying. He had to be stretchered off the ice. He had a backboard. It was a tough hit. But I gotta be honest with you. As scary as it was, and it was scary, there's no question, I didn't think the hit was terrible. You know, I heard people saying that Scheifele had no shot of stopping Evans, so what's the point? It's a one-goal game. You've got to go all out. If Evans scores that goal, the game's over. Habs win. Also, I'll say this. Scheifele got pretty close to Evans. He ultimately didn't stop Evans, but he did get close. Now, Scheifele did leave his feet, and he did go high. Okay? I get that. But you gotta realize something. Okay, go back and look at Jake Evans. He's focused on one thing and one thing only. Putting that puck into the net. Icing the game. Now that's the right thing. But once you do that, you gotta realize that you're defenseless. Also, Evans wasn't looking at Scheifele. You know, he had every opportunity to put his head up, see what Scheifele was doing, and protect himself. He didn't. He just wanted to score. That's okay. That's the right thing to do. But once you do that, there is the possibility that someone's gonna lay a big hit on you. I didn't have a huge problem with what Scheifele did. It's not the cleanest hit I've ever seen. It was after the goal was scored. I don't like that. It was high. I don't like that. But I don't want Scheifele to be suspended for a game in these playoffs. You want to suspend him for a regular season game or two or more, that's fine. But not for these playoffs. Moving on now to Golden Knights Avalanche. A really, really exciting game. Back and forth affair. The Golden Knights were the better team, I thought. They outshot the Avalanche 41-25. But obviously the Avalanche ended up winning. I mean, you gotta love that first goal by Brandon Saad. He's trying to snipe it. He misses on the puck. It's still going forward. Fleury's expecting a shot up high. And the puck just sneaks in under him. That gives the Avalanche a 1-0 lead. Then on the power play, a great setup with Alec Martinez as the pinching defenseman. He had a wide open net. The Golden Knights tied it. Very well done there. Then the Avalanche were on the power play. They had a great power play going in Game 1. And that kept up in Game 2. A nice passing play resulted in Tyson Jost getting a good opportunity from the middle of the ice. That's a tough shot for Fleury to do anything with. Then the second period, just a bad job by the Avalanche. They couldn't get the puck in deep. They were trying to go for a change. It didn't work, and Riley Smith took advantage of it to tie the game. Way to leave your goalie out to dry. Smith had a breakaway. Of course he's going to score on that. Nice little quick backhand move. Shades of Franz Nielsen. That was Nielsen's move on a shootout. The quick backhander. The game did go into overtime. Riley Smith took a slashing penalty. It was a slash. It was clear as day. The refs have to call it. What's my rule? You don't call a penalty in overtime unless it's egregious. That was egregious. Really nice play by Cale Makar to keep the puck in. Made a great pass to Mikko Rantanen, and Rantanen sniped it home. The Avalanche are obviously in the driver's seat in this series. They're up 2-0. It's going to be tough for Vegas to come back, even though Vegas has the next 2 games at the T-Mobile Arena. It's a tough mountain to climb. Moving on now to Bruins Islanders. If the Bruins are going to win this game, they've got to get the crowd out of it early. I said that in the Penguins series. I'm saying it here. It's not enough to get a 1-goal lead, though. The Islanders have shown that they can come back from that. If the Bruins can get a 2-goal lead in the first period and really get the crowd out of it, that bodes well for their chances. You gotta realize something. Game 3 of Islanders-Penguins, the Penguins had a 2-goal lead headed into the third period. The Islanders came back. They actually came back twice, but the Penguins did win the game. Game 6, the Penguins had 3 1-goal leads. 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2. They couldn't hold any of them. If the Bruins get a 2-goal lead in the first period, they'll be set up well. As for the Islanders, their defense needs to step up. I was not impressed with how the Islanders' defense played. I thought Pelech and Pulock were good in Game 2. But Leddy wasn't, Mayfield wasn't, Green wasn't, Dobson wasn't. It nearly cost the Islanders the game. Thank God for Casey Cizikas. I mean, if you can't hold a third period lead when you're up 2, and there are under 10 minutes to go in that period, that's a bad job by the defense. You know what? I'm going to do it. Maybe I'm being a little biased, but I'll say that the Islanders win tonight. I could really see them winning this game, let me tell you. It wouldn't stun me if the Bruins won, though. Not at all. The last game to talk about is Hurricanes Lightning. Peter Mrazek is going to start this game. His first start in these playoffs. It's kind of funny, before their series against the Predators, I called for the Hurricanes to start Mrazek. Rod Brind'Amour didn't listen to me. He started Ned, and Ned played well. And he's played well in this series, too. I don't understand why Peter Mrazek is starting this game. Game 1, the Hurricanes lost 2-1. Game 2, the Hurricanes lost 2-1. How is that the goalie's fault? How is it Alex Nedeljkovic's fault that the Hurricanes have only scored 2 goals in 2 games? You want to change something up, that's fine, but change the forward lines. Change the defensive pairings. Do something else. Don't pull Ned. Ned's been your best player in this series. Ned's been your best player in these playoffs. Terrible decision by Brind'Amour. I don't see how the Hurricanes win this game. There is no way that Peter Mrazek is going to be able to steal this game in Tampa Bay, coming in cold. It's just not going to happen. It's not worth getting into a lot. The Lightning are going to win this game. They're going to go up 3-0. And you know what? Game 4 is on Saturday, so I'm not going to get a chance to preview it. I guess I'll do it now. The Lightning are going to sweep. Terrible job by Brind'Amour. I do want to talk about a really sad death in the sports world, and I don't know how I missed this yesterday. That's a bad job by me. I am sorry. It's Mike Marshall, whose death was announced, I'm pretty sure yesterday, either yesterday or late Tuesday night, at the age of 78. His family said that he actually died on Monday. Mike Marshall was one of the best relievers of the 1970s. In fact, if you wanted to expand it to best relievers all time, Marshall's on the list. He's not top 5, maybe not top 10, but he's probably top 15. Off the top of my head, that sounds right. What Mike Marshall did is nothing short of incredible. He came up with the Detroit Tigers and pitched well. He had 10 saves. He had an under 2 ERA. But the Tigers sent him down to the minors in 68. They left him unprotected in the Seattle Pilots expansion draft. So the Pilots took him. They tried to turn him into a starter. That didn't work. Marshall then found himself with the Astros, did nothing there. He went to the Expos in 1970, and his career changed forever. The starter experiment was over. He was going to come out of the bullpen. And coming out of the Expos bullpen, Marshall was great. His first couple years with the Expos, he wasn't great, but he was solid. In 70, he went 3-7 with a 3.48 ERA. The year after that, he went 5-8 with a 4.28 ERA. He had 23 saves. Then the year after that, Marshall took the leap from good to great. He went 14-8 with a 1.78 ERA. He pitched in 65 games that led the National League, and he had 18 saves. The year after that, Marshall went 14-11 with a 2.66 ERA. He pitched in 92 games. That led the majors. He had 31 saves. That led the National League. The 92 games that he pitched in 73 broke Wayne Granger's record for most games pitched in a season. He pitched in 90 games for the 1969 Reds. After that year, the Expos traded Marshall to the Dodgers for Willie Davis, and it was with the Dodgers in 1974 that Marshall carved his name in stone into the annals of baseball history. He made the All-Star team. He went 15-12 with a 2.42 ERA. He had 21 saves that led the National League, but he pitched in 106 games. And Mike Marshall was a righty. It's not like he was in for just one lefty and that's it. No. Marshall was in for multiple batters. He pitched 208 and a third innings. Mind you, he didn't start a single game that year. Mike Marshall became the first reliever in baseball history to win the Cy Young Award. You know what? If you pitch in 106 games, you deserve it. However, he did have some more games to pitch in because the 74 Dodgers made the playoffs. They won the NL West. They went up against the Pirates in the NLCS, beat them in 4 games. Marshall only appeared in 2 of those games. Then in the World Series against the Athletics, Marshall pitched in all 5 games. And he got the save in the only Dodgers win of that World Series. Did he lose Game 5? The answer is yes. But the guy was asked to pitch 3 innings after pitching over 110 games. I think it's safe to say that his arm was about ready to fall off. I don't blame him for losing that game. Give Joe Rudy credit. He's the one who hit the home run that was the difference maker in that game. The year after that, Marshall made the All-Star team again. He went 9-14 with a 3.29 ERA. He did pitch in less games, only 58. He would duplicate his Iron Man performance, though, for the Twins. In 78, he went 10-12 with a 2.45 ERA and 21 saves. The year after that, he went 10-15 with a 2.65 ERA. He pitched in 90 games that year that led the American League. And he had 32 saves that year, which also led the American League. He had an excellent screwball. It's something that he taught pitchers after he retired from baseball. When you talk about unbreakable records in baseball, you think of Nolan Ryan's 7 no-hitters, Cy Young's 511 wins, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. No one, and I mean no one, is going to pitch in more games than Mike Marshall did in 1974. 106 games. Absolutely incredible. May he rest in peace. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that umpiring is a strange business. It's all jeers and no cheers.